welcome to AfriMind. Today we have Nnaemeka Ikegwuonu, who is a very inspirational entrepreneur from Nigeria, and he's the founder of the Smallholders Foundation in Nigeria, which provides information to over 250,000 farmers in Nigeria. So we're very happy to have you here today. I just wanted to get some more insight of, your background and why you decided to do this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a work that started actually a long time ago. It was, I grew up from a family that did a lot of rural agriculture. So when I was pretty young, my dad actually rented a lot of lands, which we used to work as kids. But what happened was that during that time, I did not like it, because just like every normal kid, so I did not like agriculture, and I used to grumble before I go to farm. But through that process, I actually learned practical agriculture. But we never had a television, so we basically listened to radio, and I wanted my voice to be heard on radio sometime, So I developed a love for journalism. I wanted to be a journalist.
Okay.
And I wrote university entrance twice to study journalism, and I couldn't make it to University of Nigeria and Nsukka to study journalism. So I ended up staying in my state university, Imo State University, where I studied history. Left Imo State University, did some work with HIV/AIDS educational NGO in Akwa Ibom State. But when I get to the field to talk about HIV and AIDS, I end up always talking about agriculture with the farmers, So at a point, my boss told me that it's good I do something about agriculture. So I came back to Imo State again in 2003. I founded the Smallholders Foundation.
Can you tell us more about what you actually do in the Smallholders Foundation?
Well, the Smallholders Foundation is a rural development social enterprise that promotes environmentally sustainable agriculture using radio educational programs and field practical demonstrations. So we have 4 cardinal programs that we promote. One is the Smallholder Farmers Rural Radio, which is a community radio station that designs and broadcasts agriculture, environment, and market information in the local Igbo language, about 10 hours every day, reaching an estimated 250,000 small farmer listeners. The second one is a Future Farmers program, in which we go to secondary schools, and in rural communities, we build a young farmer cluster of young people, and we train them in practical agriculture, establish a modern crop, fruit trees, and livestock garden, which they own and manage 100%. And the goal is that they sell the garden products, they put the income in a savings bank account, and they use the profit to grant themselves microloans so that they go back home and establish similar gardens at home. The third one is the smallholder seeds. We, at the inception of every farming season, we distribute seeds to farmers through farmer cooperatives, and in communities we have listener groups. We distribute to those listener groups. And the fourth one, which I actually started last year, is the Smallholders Microcredits. So we give loans about $200, $300 to rural women for expansion of agriculture. So those are the 4 things that we do.
That's very inspiring. So I guess the question is, so what were the biggest challenges that you faced? So this is quite a big establishment now. So, what are the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
To be honest with you, it's difficult to run a social enterprise, an NGO, whatever you call it in Nigeria, The first challenge I faced was funding, I had a dream of building a radio station in 2003 when we started. But, I approached almost all funding agencies and all government agencies and everybody that I felt will support the venture, but none of them really agreed to support the venture because, one, I was young and they did not believe that a young person can run a radio station.
You were 21, right?
I was 21
that's
then,
incredible.
So it was difficult to convince people. The second one is that so many donor organizations are not really attracted to Nigeria, because of corruption and all the things that Nigeria is known for, which I don't think is really true, And funding was a problem. The second problem challenge I had was, attracting, talent. It's difficult for you to come and tell a young person to come and work for you in rural development, with the money that you are going to pay him or her will be minimal, and that's not what any young person wants to use and start life. So it was difficult for me to really get the right people that I work with, the same people that share the same passion. It's difficult for you to divide yourself into 3, create yourself and make it to be a system that what you are thinking is what the next person
Exactly.
is thinking, you know. So those are the two challenges I had.
So how did you eventually get funding?
Well, in 2007, I approached UNESCO through the
Okay.
International Program for the Development of Communication to build the smallholder farmers rural radio, and they accepted the application that we submitted. We had a grant of about $25,000, and because within the past 4 years, people have been like, you can't make it happen. I was poised to make it happen, you know. So
how long did it take you to get that grant?
it took me about 1 year from the application.
Okay.
You know, so took me, the application was made late in 2005 and the grant was given late in 2006. You know,
Okay. Nice. So I guess one of the things is, one of the biggest challenges people face is raising funds. And so, you know, I think you've been able to raise funds from UNESCO, World Bank, grants. How have you gone about raising funds, and what sort of advice can you give people who are in that position and stuck?
You know, people always say that we've been successful in raising funds, but I know it's been a challenge for us too. One of the things that we use in raising funds is we like engaging our donors. You don't give us money and you just walk away. You know, we first of all impress you. We create low expectation through our application. We tell you that we want to achieve 2 things, but at the end of the day, we achieve 5 things for you, you know, and we invite you to come and be part of the project. We don't want the money to be like you're giving us money and you stay in your office and you just write us or call us and ask us, how did you guys do? You know, we want you to come on field and do it with us. We want you to see that we are doing it and we want you to be part of it. You know, and secondly, we don't allow them to go away. You know, you're not going to go away.
You hold
the moment, we hold them tight. The moment you started funding Smallholders Foundation, you will continue funding for Smallholders Foundation.
How do you hold them? You keep engaging them with different new projects. Is that it?
We keep engaging them with different projects, but the main thing is that even projects that were funded by other organizations, we inform them. Do you know that we are doing this? We got money from these guys, you know, and we just want you to come and see what we are doing, you know. And it goes a long extent in telling them how serious we are, you know. The third way is that we enter competition, business plan competition, grant competitions, and so on and so forth. And the fourth one, which I always tell my team is, we are very innovative. We think, you know, we are a young team and we think before we decide that this is going to be the project that we are going to do. We think, we use the internet to see who is doing what and what is he or she doing in what part of the world, and we try to remodify, you know, adapt it to our local situation. You know.
And so I guess the question is, so what's your vision going forward for the Smallholders Foundation or other initiatives that you're doing?
Honestly, my vision for the Smallholders Foundation is, first of all, to make the Smallholder Farmers Rural Radio to be like the BBC radio of rural Nigeria, you know. We want to build 6 radio stations for each of the geopolitical zones of Nigeria, you know. Get 90 million listeners. That's our cap. 90 million listeners, then we move on to like West Africa. At the same time, we have about 10 of our school and community gardens. We want to make it 30,000. It's pretty ambitious. We want to make 30,000 community gardens where young people will become employed in agriculture for themselves. And if they want to continue within that cluster, they can continue. If they want to go and create their own at home, they can go ahead and create their own at home. And this vision is for the next 5 years. And in consideration for smallholder seeds, we want to build our own seed, you know, our own seed making system, you know, where we make our own seeds of different crop varieties. Because at the moment we get trial seeds from International Institute for Tropical Agriculture in Ibadan. And the fourth one, for the smallholders, microcredit, have about 100,000 beneficiaries of the smallholder farmers microcredit. Yeah, that's our vision for like 5 years.
That's awesome. One of the issues we have in Nigeria is that you see lots of governments trying to, well, not in Nigeria, in Africa, lots of governments are trying to diversify from, you know, oil or, you know, natural resources and into agriculture. And the question is, how do you actually encourage the young people to go into agriculture and to look at agriculture as a viable profession?
I think for us, from the Smallholders Foundation perspective, we tell young people that one thing is this: agriculture remains the quickest way to become employed. to become employed, you have to try and be a farmer, no matter how much you don't like agriculture. Because, for instance, take it from this perspective, you know, the lands are there. Land is available. But the thing is that so many young people lack the practical skills in agriculture. And it can take you between 1 month to 2 months to get practical skills in agriculture. For instance, in simple poultry keeping. Simple poultry keeping, it will cost you about $75 to buy like 50-day-old chicks, you know. And at the end of the day, because of the feed, the poultry materials, and the building for the poultry, everything comes down to about $1,205, you know. 50 chicks, when they are 18 weeks old, they start laying eggs, you know. They can give you about 45 eggs every day. Wow. And that's good. And a crate of egg is about 30 eggs, you know. But the thing is that profit and loss selling eggs and everything and supplying and buying more feed, you earn about $440 a month. And of course, that's a profit that you can still put back in the business and expand and expand. So in like 3 months, you should have recouped your initial investment. It's the quickest way. Nigeria have the market for agricultural products. Nigerians have the purchasing power for agricultural products and food, you know. So there's nothing stopping young people to go into agriculture, except that so many of them want cool jobs. But the jobs are not available.
So that's really good. So I mean, you've won lots of awards. So you've won I think recently you won the Nigeria Young Future Person of the Year award. You're an Ashoka Fellow. You've been a fellow of a Reasonable Institute. So the question is, how does that feel?
It doesn't change me in any way. It makes me to, you know, whenever I get all those recognitions, I'm humbled. It makes me to rededicate myself to the mission, to the service that I've set out to do, you know, improve the crop yield and household income of small farmers all over the world, wherever they are. So I just rededicate myself, you know. I see the awards coming, at least once in a quarter we get recognition. And I dedicate it always to my team, because those are the guys that make me to work, you know. Those are the guys that makes me to, hey, no sleeping, you know. And that's the thing.
Nice. So I guess there are lots of budding young and old entrepreneurs out there. And so the question is, what, you know, if you had to give one last advice, one piece of advice to entrepreneurs, what is that? What is that advice?
It doesn't come easy. Determination and hard work leads to success. But the main thing is start small but grow big. Think about that.